Hi everybody, I'm Sophie and welcome to this restorative yoga practice. If you have never done restorative yoga before, just a few things that can help. So I have a bolster to help with some of the poses, but you don't need a bolster. You can use a pillow off your bed, a cushion, a rolled up blanket. I've also got 2 blocks, which again you don't need. You could just use a cushion the same, or anything that's going to help bring the ground a little bit closer or just going to help you relax. We aren't going to be doing any standing postures, so you can always put a throw or something on your mat to keep you warm. Put some socks on, make yourself really nice and warm and comfortable. So if you want to pause the video and go grab everything that you need, go ahead, do that now. And so when you've gathered everything that you think that you might need for this practice, we're going to start in a comfortable seat. So I always like to pop a block underneath my bottom just to bring my hips a little bit higher. And again, if you've got a cushion, it's great just to help you get a bit more comfortable in a seated position. So when you've found your comfortable seat, close your eyes. Just allow your awareness to rest in your body. Feeling that connection that your body has with the ground, your mat, the block or the cushion. Maybe taking a moment to notice how your body feels today. And then begin to notice your breath. So your natural pattern of your breath wherever you feel it the most. Maybe in the belly, maybe in the chest. It can feel nice to place your hands wherever you feel that breath the most. So for a moment, just watch the rise and fall. As the air enters the body on an inhale, filling the belly and the chest. And on an exhale, feel that soften, that emptiness of the body as the air expels from the mouth or the nose. So we're going to start this practice today with a seated meditation. And to do so, we're going to count the breath. So an inhale is a 1, an exhale is a 2, up to the count of 10. So you're going to take 2 rounds of that counting of the breath up to 10 in your own time. There's absolutely no rush. So go ahead, start that process now. Inhale is a 1, exhale is a 2, up to the count of 10, and then starting again. Practice really helps to connect your mind to your body. So if you find that you lose the count, see if you can catch your mind while it goes off in any stories. Bring it back to that inhale and exhale. And then when you've done that, there's absolutely no rush to do so. Let your mind wander, release that awareness of the breath. If you've been stopping your mind from thinking, now's the chance for it to think what it wants to think. Maybe in this moment you find that actually you don't really think of much at all. And now bringing your awareness back into your body. That connection to the ground. Centering you right here in this very moment. And then when you're ready, gently blinking open your eyes. So we're going to start this practice moving slowly, and the poses, the postures will hold for longer and longer as the practice goes on. So we're going to start by taking some neck stretches. So drop your chin down towards your chest. And if this is enough, you can stay like this, or maybe you interlace the fingers and gently place them on top of the head. So there's no pulling down of the head, there's just a gentle placement. So you should be feeling a stretch at the top of the neck, maybe into that space between the shoulder blades. The longer we stay in each of these poses, the easier it is to relax the muscles that we tend to hold the tension in. Last few breaths. And then gently release the hands. If they were on the head, let the head come back to center. Take your right ear over to your right shoulder. Now we're feeling that stretch down the left hand side of the neck, maybe a little bit into the shoulders. And again, if this is not enough and you want a bit extra, you can place your hand gently onto the side of the head. But again, don't pull down on the neck. Just be really gentle. Use that hand as just a little bit of extra leverage, a little bit of extra weight to feel a bit more of a stretch. And release back through the centre nice and slowly. We'll go over to the other side. So left ear to left shoulder. And again, staying here, or maybe you place your hand on the side of the head. Really mindful when we're doing anything with the neck. If anything hurts, if anything's painful, then just coming back to the centre. And throughout this practice, again, if anything feels uncomfortable, backing out or come into a comfortable seat or somewhere, some posture that you know is comfortable for you. And now release the hand, release the head back to centre. Last stretch, lift the chin and let the back of the head fold towards your back. Feel that stretch across the front of the neck. A place that we don't often stretch, but can feel quite nice. Notice the breath as it changed in this position. And then slowly lift the head all the way back to the centre. So our first pose is going to be child's pose. So we're going to slowly make our way there now. So in this restorative version of child's pose, You can lay your cushion or your pillow or whatever you have long ways along your mat. The knees can be as wide as your mat or narrow. And you can fold your body over the bolster or the pillow. Also, if you are on a hard floor and it's uncomfortable underneath the tops of the feet, a blanket or again maybe a pillow can help just pad that area, and maybe even something under the bottom. So gather everything that you need, and there's no rush to get into these poses because we're going to be there for quite a long time. So take your time, gather what you need. And if you get somewhere and find that that's not working for you, then nice and slowly find a prop or different position. Then allowing your body to rest down, maybe reaching the hands forwards. And the head can turn to one side, just allowing you to be in the most comfortable version of this child's pose. So, unlike our active child's pose, our yang version of this pose, I don't want anything to feel strained, anything to feel uncomfortable. So if there's any stretching anywhere, then see if you can gather something, a prop to bring the ground closer maybe, or make it more comfortable. You can allow your awareness to rest with your breath. If your awareness is with your breath, notice where that feeling of the breath has moved to, how it's changed from that position when we started seated. Maybe now the back, the ribs are expanding outwards and inwards on your inhale and exhale. Last few moments here. Now gently start to walk your hands back to begin to lift your chest. Moving the bolster or the cushion out of the way. We're going to come all the way down to lay on our fronts. So moving between these poses really nice and slowly. Imagine it would be how you move in the middle of the night. We're going to move into Sphinx pose. So elbows coming underneath the shoulders, palms face down onto your mat, fingers spread nice and wide. Think about drawing the chest forwards, reaching the shoulders back, drawing your elbows back in towards your ribs. So this should create a gentle back bend. If it's an uncomfortable back bend, if this is too high, then maybe you just come down to lie on your front. Make a little pillow with the hands for the head. It can often feel better if the legs are a little bit wider, creating space for the back. Play about what feels good for you. Chin can be tucked, or you can reach the head up, whatever feels comfortable. And then find that stillness, that settled place. And again, come back to your breath. We're laying on the belly, so the breath will feel a lot different to how it was when we were seated. So just sit with that for a moment, noticing. Notice if you have a real urge to move your body. It's very rare that we are still. Even in yoga, there's a constant movement, a constant flow. So sit with those feelings if you really do have the urge to move, if it's uncomfortable for you to be this still. Ask yourself why. And if the mind is also still busy, ask yourself why. From here, release the chest down, moving the elbows out to the side. Make that little pillow for the head with the hands. Maybe rest an ear down or the forehead. Here, gently making your way back up. So press into the hands, but really, really nice and gently. Bringing yourself to a kneeling position just for a moment. And then release the feet from underneath. We're going to come into a forward fold. So if you know that you find it difficult to fold forwards, again, lifting up the hips can help. So maybe roll a blanket, place it underneath the bottom. This is going to be a restorative forward fold, so gather some props to help you be supported there. So maybe your cushion or your pillow. You can place blocks on top of those things so that you have something for the forehead to rest on. So take a moment now, really gather up everything that you need. And the hands can be on the shins. Maybe you let the backs of the hands rest on the ground so that there's no pulling forwards. This is all very natural. We don't want to pull our body into any position. So wherever you are, allow the chin to tuck towards the chest. Really try and find something for the forehead to rest on, just to allow yourself and your head not to be hanging in space. And then trying to find that still position as quickly as you can. So you might find that as we move through each of these poses, that the body begins to settle. It's easier to find that position. It's easier to become still. The transition from moving to stillness can take a few moments. So the first few poses might have still been quite difficult to be so still, but hopefully you'll find as we move through that it becomes easier. Maybe if it doesn't come easier, that's something to ask yourself again. Why is it that you find it so hard to be still? Even for myself now, I know that my right foot is moving about. Also to note, the longer that we are in these postures, the more loose or the more relaxed our muscles will be. So maybe you can remove a prop or soften a little bit more so that you can get a little bit deeper, but that deepness is not the aim. It's just something that should naturally occur, not to be forced. So your last 30 seconds or so here. Now slowly start to lift your body up. Take the hands behind the hips. Take a little counter pose. Maybe there's a few clicks in the spine. And then removing any blocks that you had, any props, out of the way for a second. Our next pose is supported bridge pose. So there's two options, or three options I suppose. So we're going to prop something underneath the bottom. So I'm going to use my bolster, but then I'm also going to show you with the block, and you can also use a cushion. So come to lay down on the back of your body, like you would if you were preparing for bridge pose. So the soles of the feet are on the floor, knees are bent. Press into the feet, lift the hips, and slide the bolster or the cushion underneath your hips. So this is one option. Really comfortable, especially if the thing that's underneath the hips is padded. The next option is to use a block. So the block can go whatever way feels comfortable for you. So maybe you use it this way so that you're gently lifting the hips, or maybe you use it this full way so that the hips are on the part of the block. So again, press into the feet as you lift the hips. Give yourself enough space to place the lower back so that flat part of your spine places on top of the block. This can be quite strong, so maybe going for that softer option. And then the hands can rest on the belly, down by your side, or if you want a little bit extra, want a bit more opening, reaching the hands over the head and catching hold of opposite elbows. So with this pose, there's a gentle opening through the front of the hips. If the hands are over the head, there's a gentle opening through the shoulders. And then find your position, find what props work for you. Find the height of the hips that works for you. And then settle in. You're going to stay here for 4 minutes. Again, you can come back to your breath. The mind is wandering still. Catch it before it does. Bring it back to your breath. go halfway. And if you find that you are uncomfortable, then maybe move in slightly, finding a position that works for you. The hands are over the head. Maybe you take this time to move them to the belly. Allowing you to feel your breath in the belly, the chest, side of the body as the ribs expand. Now gently moving out of the pose. So press into the feet to lift the hips, rolling whatever you had underneath them away. Just going to take a moment on our backs as a gentle rebound. Noticing how your body feels. And bringing yourselves up to seated. Our final posture is a heart opener. So taking your bolster or pillow or cushion and placing it long ways along your mat. Bring it up to just below the lower back. Then allow yourselves to rest all the way down. If you haven't got a cushion or a bolster, a block down the centre of your shoulder blades can work just as well. Hands rest down by your sides. So options for the knees, you can either keep them bent, you can have them straight. Or if you want to open a little bit more into the hips, bring the soles of the feet together, let the knees drop to the sides. But if you're in this position, I encourage you to pop some blocks underneath the knees, just to help support you so you're not in your widest version of this pose. If the neck is uncomfortable, again, you can pop something underneath the head. If you had another block, you could even lift the bolster off the floor by popping the block underneath the bolster. So lots of versions of this pose. Find what works for you. And then again, settling in, bringing yourself to that stillness. And hopefully by now, as your body has started to relax, you can find that stillness quicker. Maybe it doesn't feel as difficult to be still. Allow your mind to totally switch off. Maybe releasing the awareness of the breath. again, we're going to be here for about 4 minutes. You've already done a minute. Feel that opening up through the heart centre, through the chest, through the shoulders, into the hips if you have the knees to the side. Across the front of the hips, maybe into the lower back. Noticing if you're still holding any tension. Often when we lay here in a pose, we think that we have totally relaxed, but there's still somewhere that's holding on. Especially if you're finding it uncomfortable, somewhere will still be holding on to help ease that uncomfort. See if you notice where that is. Release the tension there. Last minute. Slowly start to unravel the pose. So if the knees are out to the side, use the hands to draw them back to the center. Nice and slowly start to lift the body all the way back up, just enough so you can move your props. So we're going to move into Savasana. But you can do this in a nice way that's really restful. So bring in your bolster or your cushion underneath the knees. Bringing yourself all the way back down onto the earth. If you have an eye pillow, this is a great time to use it. If you don't have an eye pillow, maybe a bit of jumper or cushion or throw, just something that you can gently place over your eyes just to stop any light that might distract you. And it's quite nice if there's some heaviness behind it, that can really help to relax. So finding that comfortable position, maybe grabbing a blanket. You can even pop a cushion underneath your head. And so as we move into Savasana now, letting any awareness of the breath go. Allow your body to sink down into the ground. Releasing that tension that you're holding anywhere still. Letting go of any thoughts that are still lingering in your mind. Allowing yourselves this next 5 minutes to truly relax. There is nowhere you need to be. You don't need to think about anything. This is your time. Slowly start to deepen your breath. Starting to bring some movement back slowly into your body. Maybe you start to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. Gently, slowly make those movements bigger. You can reach the hands behind the head, taking a stretch, maybe a yawn. Hug the knees in towards the chest. Give yourselves a big hug. And then slowly making your way back up to that seated position that we started. Really nice and slowly. You can keep your eyes closed. And then when you get there, rest the hands on the knees. Close your eyes. For a moment, come back to your breath. And then gathering the hands to touch at the heart center. Take a deep inhale through your nose and a long sigh to release. Thank you, everybody, for your practice.